Hey everyone, and welcome to this new video. In this video, I want to talk to you about MQTT, what it is used for, how to set it up, what benefits it brings, and much more after the intro. Enjoy. Yes, MQTT. You may have heard about it in many of my videos. I have also made a video about it before, but that was quite some time ago. That's why I thought I would refresh the knowledge a little bit, and let's talk about it. The whole thing shouldn't get too technical. Instead, we will talk more about the advantages of why one should use MQTT. Because the question is, do I really need an extra protocol now? I already have the various interfaces to, for example, Tasmota. So why should I integrate Tasmota via MQTT now? Especially in connection with Home Assistant and some extensions, MQTT can be worthwhile, particularly because Home Assistant offers recognition of thousands of its own devices. As a result, you often don't have to configure anything for certain devices, and you have your devices in Home Assistant just as you would through an HTTP interface. All you basically need in addition is an MQTT broker, and this already highlights the biggest difference compared to an HTTP interface, for example. But what is the purpose of this MQTT broker? And is it worth setting it up on the home server? And this can be formulated relatively simply. The MQTT broker is essentially your interface through which all communication in the MQTT network takes place. This means that messages are initially sent to the MQTT broker, it manages them, and then sends them to the client at the appropriate time. In this case, as soon as the client is reachable is a significant advantage compared to, for example, HTTP. If your Tasmota or Home Assistant is not reachable, then in such a case the request would simply go unanswered and essentially nothing would happen. With MQTT, it can be ensured that the client actually receives the message. This means that if the client is offline at that moment, the broker retains the message until the client comes back online and then sends the message to them, allowing the client to respond to it. This all works through so-called topics. You can think of it like a folder structure or the subdirectory of your HTTP interface, a website. So basically everything that comes after Google DE with slashes would be an MQTT topic. And in this topic, just like on websites, content, namely messages, can be sent and the entire communication runs through these topics. Now, when sending, a topic is specified to which the message should be sent, and there is also a subscription system for the recipient. This means that it must subscribe to a specific topic and inform the broker that it would like to receive messages from this topic. Additionally, wildcards can be set up. With a hashtag, you can receive multiple topics simultaneously and also specify how you would like to receive the message. Should they disappear after the first reading, or should they be resent you every time you connect to the broker? This is particularly useful if you want to distribute configuration files via MQTT. These would then simply be delivered to the client every time it restarts, and the client does not need to save this configuration itself. Additionally important and especially practical for the smart home is that MQTT is designed to deliver messages to an incredibly large number of devices simultaneously. This means that if you have multiple Tasmota devices or others that can usually be accessed via HTTP, it can slow down your smartphone's data system over time, as HTTP is already a relatively slow protocol. MQTT, on the other hand, is perfectly designed for such purposes. So if you have 50 devices in your MQTT network, or many more, you will definitely notice a difference in speed, especially when you send many individual small messages to these devices. For this reason, I would strongly encourage you to explore the topic of MQTT. The whole setup is actually quite easy. Either if you have Home Assistant supervised, you simply go to the add-on store, install MQTT, and configure your data accordingly. All you need is the IP address, username, and password. It's just as simple with a self-hosted version of Home Assistant. Here, you simply connect via SSH, preferably using this GitHub template, so enter git clone followed by the URL to download it. Adjust the paths briefly, then start everything up, go to the configuration, disable anonymous login, and enable your password file. Now execute this command to generate your own user, and it's best to comment out the default passwords in the password.txt file. Now you restart your container once and have MQTT set up. To test everything, there is this client for Windows and the MQTT Explorer for macOS. Both function relatively similarly. You start the entire pool, set up your MQTT connection once with the IP address, username and password, and you can of course name it as well. Then you can subscribe by clicking the connect button. in the MQTT Explorer, you will now see all the directories currently in use displayed directly. In MQTT-FX, you need to enter a hashtag once to see all directories. In your case, it should still be empty. In my case, you can see that some items are already included here. Now you could, for example, integrate your Home Assistant as a client. To do this, go to the Home Assistant interface, click on Settings, then Devices and Services, add Integration, and add MQTT. Enter your username, password, and the IP address here again, and now the first Home Assistant topics should appear. You can of course continue this with all your other devices that support MQTT. If you have any questions about this, feel free to write them in the comments. Otherwise, I would say that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and, above all, found it helpful. If so, I would of course be very happy about a review, and if you could subscribe to the channel, it would really help me out. I would say see you in the next video. Until then, take care and goodbye.